Hey, Southern Nevada, let's talk about your tap water. Despite its hard, mineral-rich taste, your water meets or surpasses all federal Safe Drinking Water Act standards, so don't confuse hard water with its quality. Sourced from the Rocky Mountains, your water is analyzed more than 300,000 times a year. It's treated and monitored 24/7 by a team of technical experts. So get all the facts about your tap water at snwa.com. SNWA is a not-for-profit water agency. The news is coming in fast and furious these days, so we're going to help you make sense of what matters locally. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm here with writer Scott Dickensheets and Kip Kelly, founding creative director of the Beverly Theater, and we're talking about the local impacts of the war in the Middle East, a beloved ranch facing possible closure, and a dramatic new wedding chapel coming to Las Vegas. It's Friday, March 6th. I'm Sonia Cho Swanson, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Before we get into it, I want to tell you that CityCast just dropped a brand new podcast. It's called Your City Could Be Better because it could be. Every week, our CEO, David Plotz, chats with my colleagues from across the 13 CityCast teams to talk about all the weird things our cities are trying, like where they're growing and how they're succeeding. And this week's episode takes us to our neighbor, Salt Lake, where a national think tank wants to institutionalize unhoused people regardless of what the locals think. Your City Could Be Better has also featured conversations about how the anti-ICE movement in the Twin Cities mobilized so quickly and the backlash against data centers in Madison. So check out the episodes now on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. They are fantastic. So now, Scott, Kip, welcome to the show. Hello, good morning.
Hi, guys.
Hello, happy to be back.
So good to have y'all. All right, well, we start things off with a hot headline, which is just a clip from the news, something that's happened recently that caught our attention. Did y'all hear about the deportation of a college student who traveled to Las Vegas recently?
Yes.
I saw something about it, yeah. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, pretty wild stuff. This actually was a student from California, Gabriel Espinoza, a community college student from California. His Vegas vacation turned into a life-upending nightmare. He was staying at the Strat this January, and I guess the Strat, upon checkout, sends out these automated text messages of like, you know, I don't know, maybe something like get the hell out by 12 p.m. or something. Who knows? But the college students, as college students will do, replied to the text message with a single line, OMFG, stop before I bomb this place, leading to a confrontation with security. LVMPD then took Espinoza and a friend into custody. The friend was released, but Espinoza, who was born in Mexico and has lived in the U.S. since he was 4, was handed off to ICE and then a month later deported to Mexico, a country he has not stepped foot in since he was a toddler. And the reporter who broke this story, Isabella Aldrade, in the Nevada Independent, points out that what makes this story so startling is basically how thin the ice is for immigrants in this country, no pun intended. One misstep, wrong place, wrong time, and your life can be completely upended. So just another sign of the times, I guess.
Yeah, I think if I was a young person traveling to Las Vegas and in college with my friends, and in fact, I think I'm 100% sure I responded to a hotel checkout message in the exact same way at some point in my life. Maybe even as recently as 3 weeks ago, as a 43-year-old man. So I'm not sure that a moment like that warrants deportation. I will say that.
Yeah.
I would agree 100%, although I would say, like, given the current context of our times, one should automatically be wary of bomb jokes. I mean, the airports warn you about that all the time. So,
right.
But that's not to blame the kid. That's not to blame the kid. He got caught up in a machinery that should be, should be scrutinized very heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is I think early 2000s taught maybe millennials and above the bomb on a plane banter would
totally,
get you in
Kip.
trouble. He might have missed that. It's kind of faded away in terms of as it relates to saying something on an airplane. It is a bad joke. It is in poor taste. It is also a young man who was in Vegas with his friends and saw an opportunity to entertain them. And shocker, that's kind of what this economy is built on, is having a good time and entertaining your friends. So I feel bad. It's great reporting by Isabella. I think she followed up even with him as he's in Mexico now. I hope the kid is able to get back on track with his education and whatever he had in mind for his future. Hopefully this doesn't derail him because it's tough. I hate to be, the place where young men and women can go to have a good time. And then this is kind of the result.
Yeah. And who amongst us has not done something incredibly stupid during our college years? So let's just...
I'm raising both of my hands right now.
And feet.
And feet. Well, let's move on to our first topic, local impacts from the war in the Middle East. Scott, how is Las Vegas feeling the impact of what's happening in Iran and elsewhere across the Middle East?
Well, as you know, we began the bombing campaign on Iran last weekend. And, Las Vegas, because it's a global tourist destination, is, I think, presumed to have kind of a spider web sensitivity to like tremors in the world situation. And so it's natural to ask, like, how is this impacting Las Vegas? Everything I've read so far, though, indicates so far that it's not in the way that we think. Like, it doesn't appear that, like, a lot of people are canceling plans or any of that sort of thing. Where impacts might take place, at least in the immediate run, is things like gas prices, because this could definitely impact gas prices, both for people driving in from our feeder markets in Southern California and people flying in. So that is one of the more immediate threats. In the longer term, I think Americans are pretty good at sort of like putting distant things in the background and carrying on with their lives. So I don't know that we'll see, unless there's a drastic escalation of things, right. I don't know that we'll see an immediate impact. Now, it could have some severe impacts for military families, people whose loved ones are stationed at Nellis.
And Creech, there's Creech nearby too as well.
Yeah. So that's an open question, at least as far as anything I've read so far.
Yeah. It's easy to forget that we're a military town sometimes. My dad was actually stationed at Nellis. That's how he came to Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's one of the 2 or 3 pillars of our existence, really. So.
Yeah, I think, if set up, Scott, you're right. Maybe no single thing, at least in the immediate, will hurt what's happening here in Las Vegas. But up against the backdrop of Vegas is dying and things are overpriced and visitation is already down. And we know that to be true.
Yeah, we already are in a slump. That's a good point, Kip.
We're in a slump, and so it's like just one more thing and from this point on, it's like, will every little thing just do more to reinforce the idea that I don't need to go to Vegas and spend my optional money, because there may not be a lot of optional money to spend around the country right now. So I guess we'll see. But we know that visitation's down. We know Canada's kind of canceled us to some extent. We know tariffs are having a small impact on things here. And so it's like, does Vegas really need one more thing? And I don't think we do, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Corporate travel usually tends to get cut during times like this too. So, visitations for events and our big
conventions.
Conventions, I could certainly see not just the average American cut in discretionary spending, but obviously big corporations too, saying, let's just hold off on that conference right now.
Yeah, with more uncertainty.
I think Kip's observation is kind of the answer to the natural question of, like, how does this compare to, like, the onset of the war in Iraq back in 2003?
Yes.
When you saw like maybe a flattening of visitation numbers and revenue, but not a drop, not kind of a significant drop. But the difference now is that all these other factors Kip mentioned, like Vegas seems more vulnerable now. And even if it's, however structurally sound it might be, there's a lot of chatter in the news universe about how Vegas is not what it used to be, how Vegas is suffering and so on. And the other difference from 2003 is, as I recall, Saddam Hussein wasn't throwing missiles around the rest of the Middle East, which Iran seems to be doing. And however long they keep that up, that could have other ramifications, including, MGM and Wynn have properties that they're working on in that area. So
yeah, in the UAE,
as well as
yeah,
travel from those markets and whatnot. So those are some of the differences between then and now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad you guys brought up this point about the economy already being in a slump, because I keep hearing that Las Vegas is like the canary in the coal mine for the U.S. economy. Sort of like what happens to the U.S. economy happens in Vegas first, right? I'm curious what y'all think. Is there a way for us to kind of, I don't know, keep our tourist attractions but lose the canaries?
I think Vegas is always the most vulnerable and the least prepared. And that makes it difficult for us to navigate through these curveballs that the world throws us. And we saw that during COVID. Obviously, we've seen that. We saw that in 2008.
Yeah.
I know that the easy thing to say is to diversify the economy. Let's go beyond gaming. Okay. Well, we've said that for how many years? I don't think anybody's really truly focused on that in a way that is impactful or meaningful. So maybe, okay, we're all in on gaming and everything that comes with it. My question would be, what during, times like these can we do to help strengthen maybe the local economy, small businesses? What can we do to maybe listen to the 2.5 million people that live here a little bit more clearly and start maybe planning projects in a way that would benefit small businesses and some of those kind of industries? I would love to see those strengthened. And I think there's a lot of examples of us building one more thing on the Strip. And I understand why we do that, but I always ask what that one more thing on the Strip might do in North Las Vegas or on the East Side or the historic West Side or even Summerlin or Henderson. What would that one giant project that we are going to crowbar into this same 3-mile stretch, what would that do to any other part of the city? And then how might it affect us in a positive way during times like this?
Scott?
No argument here. I subscribe to all of that. And I think maybe start with rolling back some of the fees that are that they're entrenched. The gamers say they're entrenched in those fees now, but that's the thing that's driving so much of the negative chatter about Las Vegas out there. Is just like you see somebody go viral with their $14 bottle of water or whatever it is, and more and more people are like, have to be wondering if Vegas is still for them. And when you look at things like F1 and some of the other events that go on, maybe it's not. I mean, maybe we're sort of not looking for the budget tourist anymore, and we're looking more for the high rollers, the middle rollers, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of evidence to support that too, Scott. I think, casino operators would probably echo that. And I think the way their bottom line shakes out during times like this, it probably makes sense for them to focus more on the giant spender rather than the average American. And so I have what I think would be the right answer, but it's a very nuanced complication, and we have a very nuanced economy, even though it's very singular in its focus. And being the canary is unfortunate for us. I wish we were a little bit more prepared for these things because I feel like we've gone through them enough times now.
Yeah.
You guys will both be happy to know that the LVCVA and the Chamber of Commerce are, quote, monitoring the situation, unquote. So I feel much more confident now.
Yeah.
Phew, save the day.
In case some sort of breakaway terrorist group tries to, I don't know, increase the business tax or something here, the Chamber of Commerce will spring into action. So
huge month for people monitoring situations.
Don't miss the return of New York's famed Gilbert and Sullivan Players to Las Vegas at the UNLV Performing Arts Center on Friday, March 6th at 7:30 p.m. The New York Times calls their production of The Mikado a comic gem. This version features characters from Victorian London's D'Oyly Carte Opera Company, presented in their imagined locale of Titipu, inspired by the art and architecture of Japan. The heart of the tale is a love story, but throw in a love triangle and the escapades ensue. And this production isn't your parents' version of The Mikado. This interpretation premiered in New York in 2017, and it represents a lot of work between the players and the Asian American theatrical community, the result of people listening to each other and working through problems and differences. The production starkly contrasts with historical treatments of The Mikado in several ways. For example, an original prologue gives the audience context for the work, highlighting Gilbert's influences from Japan. Tickets are selling fast, so get yours today at unlv.edu/PAC.
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, well, let's go on to our second topic. McKee Ranch in the middle of Las Vegas is facing a possible closure. Kip, what's going on there?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't have to ask if you guys have been there, right? Like I don't have to set that.
I haven't been there, Kip. I'm so sorry.
Been there.
I know.
Okay.
Clearly an animal hater. Oof.
You are. I'm canceling you for that alone. You're worse than the dude who stole the flamingo yesterday.
Clearly. Same boat.
Same boat. McKee Ranch. It's actually a nonprofit. It's a cool farm. It's located just south of Silverton. It's been operating as a ranch and a farm for rescued animals for, I think, almost 30 years now. They've got a lot of cool stuff. They've got geese, they've got horses, they've got rabbits and pigs and donkeys and goats. And they even have like a little, I guess it's a ranch dog. I forget his name, but he runs around and he's a very friendly dog. They've acted as a kind of a rescue shelter for some of these animals, particularly roosters, who, as if anybody lives in an HOA here, you can't have roosters. And so they've kind of been a catch-all for those in the city. If you have a rooster, bring it here and we'll take care of it for you. And it's also been a really cool place to just go visit. You can buy a ticket, you can feed the animals, you can go on rides. They have educational stuff, they have field trips. It's a quirky kind of ode to a different time that still exists somewhat near the Las Vegas Strip, which is kind of cool to have. Well, shocker, there's some development happening in the area, and they're being fined now, seemingly out of nowhere. They're being fined for their roosters roaming. They're being fined for some unpermitted structures, I believe. Do they have the right zoning? Do they not? All of these things are good questions, but suddenly when a development comes in, now it's a question that we need to answer. And not just answer over the course of time. It's, I guess we need to answer every single day, because I guess every single day they're being fined for roosters being roaming around their property. So right now, as it stands, they're afraid that they're going to have to close. And there's a GoFundMe to try to raise some money, I think, to pay the fines. I don't know, kind of that classic preservation versus development argument that we have here in Las Vegas every 5 or 10 years or so.
Yeah. Okay, it's interesting you bring up the roosters too, because I feel like they're almost like the casualty of like the suburbanization of Las Vegas, right? Because this ranch has collected these unseemly animals that are not welcome in the HOAs of the city.
Yeah, and look, I agree. I don't want a rooster. I am not trying to live next to a rooster, okay? But
fair.
Look, thankfully, there's a place that they will take them. And I think it should be noted, I haven't read anywhere where it's any of the neighbors who have lived with them for years that are making these complaints. There's a new, I think it's 90 or 100 homes being developed in the area, and now there's going to be some new neighbors, and I think that's causing problems for the homes that are trying to go in there. And of course, we want to build homes. Growth is important, but it's kind of that. At what point does nostalgia become negotiable, and when does it become a pain or something that we can't tolerate anymore? And I am pro ranch. I am pro keep these animals where they're at. I don't really care about unpermitted structures. That's not something that affects my day to day. I'm not waking up wondering if every single structure I see around town has a permit. I understand that we've got to build some things in the area, but stop harassing them. Let's let them exist and try to work out a better deal.
What do you think, Scott? Do they deserve the fines? Is it fair?
Well, I mean, there's technically fair, and then there's morally fair, and I'm on the side of morally fair winning out in this one. They've been there for a long time. I haven't been there, but my grandchildren and my daughter-in-law have been there. They love it.
Kip, Scott also has not been to the ranch, and he still loves animals.
Everybody be ready. In 20 minutes, I'm on my way. We're going.
I have been there by proxy with my grandkids. So, and like literally, where else in this valley are they going to have that? Be able to have that kind of exposure to, even a hint of rurality. Of rural life, in the sort of concentrated way that it is there. I mean, I suppose they could go out to to the edge of town where people have their horses, but
there's the Las Vegas farm and there's Gilcrease Orchard, but those are way up on the north side of town, so there aren't too many of those spots around Las Vegas.
And this is kind of like a throwback to Bonnie Springs in a way, and the love people had for that. I think kids can get a lot out of that sort of casual interaction with animals that are not domestic dogs and cats. So, and Kip, I have lived next to a rooster. I'm not in an HOA neighborhood. It's not as bad as you might think.
Well, that's good to hear.
Okay.
We know where they can all go now, Scott. That's awesome. We found a place, McKee Ranch.
Yeah.
What the thing that I think is funniest about this is I promise you, and again, you could fact check me when it's all said and done. I promise you that the new developers are coming in selling this ranch house aesthetic as part of the homes.
Oh, for sure.
That part is very rural. It's very equestrian driven. And so I would bet that the style of those homes are going to be very ranch house in their approach and how they market them.
Oh my gosh, they're going to be tiny cul-de-sacs named like Horsemaster Court or something. Or
absolutely.
Thoroughbred Lane.
For sure. And so the irony is, let's do that, but let's get rid of the actual ranch first, and then we can market and appropriate the aesthetic and sell it. So that's the funniest part of all this.
So it's a variety of gentrification then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it all across Las Vegas. I mean, Farm Road.
Yeah, same thing that happened to the Arts District,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, actually, it does remind me of the Arts District a little bit because remember the new condos that are going up, and the developer there is trying to get the noise ordinance back in place, right?
Yeah.
To bring the noise down. And we see something similar here, right? Where there's a development coming in. I'm assuming it's the developer who wants, maybe Mickey Ranch a little reined in.
The general dynamic of gentrification is like a group of people make an area cool, give it an aura, and then other people try and capitalize on that, and they price out or drive out the original cool, the people who originally made it cool. So it seems like the same sort of thing is happening here, which would be regrettable.
Yeah, it's so interesting how much of that is about noise and sound too. Like how much of it is about the sort of the auditory experience of living in a place too. But Las Vegas really does desperately need housing. I'm sure that this development is really welcome in a city like ours. So how can we keep unique institutions like McKee Ranch alive and well in the middle of a growing city? Thoughts? Be
honest with home buyers and say, if you're going to buy this house, you're going to be living within cock-a-doodle-doo distance of a rooster. And you remember when in 2008, when the Pepcon rocket fuel plant blew up, people over the hill in Green Valley had no idea there was a rocket fuel plant right over the hill. And, that happens over and over where, you can't, like the homeowners either don't do their own due diligence or the sellers are, limit how much, how wide they cast their net of disclosure. So I think if we really are interested in keeping these cool places alive, some of that has to, fall on the home buyers and the home builders.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be upfront with them. Also, does Vegas need more housing or does it need more affordable housing? And
amen.
And if that's the case, then okay, Mr. Developer and Mrs. Developer, we're going to shut down this ranch. Fine. I mean, I don't want that to happen, but let's say that happens. What are you guys doing to make sure private equity doesn't come in here and swoop all these homes up and outprice anybody who would want to live in this area? So we're bursting at the seams a little bit just because of,
Mm-hmm.
this little pocket of desert we live in that can't go out much further. And it is going to become more and more difficult to get more homes into the Vegas area. But it's about affordable housing for me, and it's about making sure that if we're going to go into agreements with these developers, that they have a plan and a roadmap and a strategy to make sure that people who live here or are looking to move here can afford them and aren't just outpriced because somebody else, backed by a hedge fund, has way more capital to spend. And then what? And now we've gotten rid of the ranch, and we've just brought in a bunch of private equity. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, what has this whole area kind of just become? That's very, very
Sure.
off-putting.
What's become an outpost for Californians.
Who has really benefited from that cycle? I mean, just a few really well-off people.
Right. Well, here's my thought. Let's make the roosters a selling point. Talk to people about the free alarm clocks every morning at the crack of dawn, the unique farm aroma that brings you right back to like rural, Texas or wherever it is that you're, coming from. I think it's a selling point. We can make it happen.
Hear, hear. I love it.
All right, third topic. A24 famed artsy film house is releasing a movie called The Drama very shortly. And as part of that promotion, they're bringing a drama or dramatic wedding chapel to Las Vegas. I don't really understand. The studio is now taking applications for weddings at a one-day only wedding chapel pop-up on March 14th. It's going to be somewhere on the Strip. The description's a little vague. It promises a ceremony that is, quote, spontaneous, glamorous, and just a little bit dangerous with a, quote, full Vegas spectacle. And just to give you guys a little preview, they're an engaged couple before the wedding on a double date. Everyone decides to share their worst secret before you get married. And apparently Zendaya's secret shocks everyone. And it has Robert Pattinson's character questioning the whole marriage. There's drama. There's a scene with a knife. I don't know. The trailer is wild. So apparently this dramatic wedding chapel is supposed to be equally spectacular. I don't know. What do y'all think? Is this a brilliant movie promotion or a tired old hack? How do we feel about wedding chapels being a gimmick?
Little from column A, little from column B.
Okay. Tell me more.
It does seem kind of tired, but it also seems like it'll probably work.
Right.
It'll probably get it some press because it's kind of an easy softball.
Didn't Cheetos have a wedding chapel at some point, like during the Super Bowl or something? I feel like it's been used a few times as like a different brand activation.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think if you live here, you see that and you say, okay,
Okay.
It's not. But I always try to approach these things from the lens of somebody who doesn't live here to the best of my ability, because I think the worst thing you can become when you live here is the jaded local who hasn't been to the Strip in 17 years, or
Kip, good point. Yes, thank you.
But that's not to say that I don't have feelings of like, oh boy, I see things and I roll my eyes and like, here we go again. Is this, like Scott said, a little bit of both? Yeah. Did I roll my eyes? Yeah. Is it going to work? Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to choose to not be the jaded Vegas local in this, and I'm going to say, great job, top tier marketing, guys.
And now that Kip has shamed me as the jaded
No,
Las
not
Vegas
at all.
local that I am.
Curmudgeon, local curmudgeon, Scott Dickensheets.
No, not at all, Scott. I'm with you. Trust me, I'm with you. I'm doing my best here.
Well, I will say that it doesn't matter what I think. If people want to have some sort of spectacleized wedding, who am I to say no? I had a very quiet wedding. It worked for me, but maybe. And I've been to some of the gimmicky wedding chapels, and I've had relatives get married by Elvis and all that sort of thing. So I don't really have a thing against it. I just think it is kind of like, a little tacky, but a little spectacle, which is Vegas. So who's to complain?
It's been done. I think anywhere you live, your city is represented on a national scale with some very specific kind of tropes or ideas of what that is. Vegas, probably more than any. We've got Elvis and weddings and, like showgirls are still poker.
Yeah.
Showgirls are, one of the things that does bother me is showgirls are still represented largely in film and TV, which I love. but all the casinos closed all the showgirl shows. So we don't have any
actually real working showgirls.
Active show. We don't have working showgirls. So I'm all for those in film and television, but it makes me like, well, now I'm sad because all those production shows are gone. So can we like bring some back? And if we're going to use it to represent us on a national scale or a global scale, anyway.
And I will say that there's, as reported in Desert Companion, I think last year, there are businesses in town that will give you like offbeat Vegas weddings, but not like the gimmicky stuff. Like if you want to get married on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont, they can set that up, or on top of like a parking garage. Wedding? Yeah, but customized to your particular wants and desires. So that kind of stuff is already going on in a way that's sort of different than what we think of as a typical Vegas wedding. So that's interesting too.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I, for one, think that your wedding should be all about joy. And if this brings you joy, then so be it. That's great. Great for you. But I think in the spirit of joy, let's ask a fun question. If you are going to base a Vegas wedding chapel on any movie, and this is a question specifically for you, Kips, as the founding creative director of the Beverly, any movie, which one would you choose and what would it look like?
Coming to America.
Tell me more. This is the Eddie Murphy classic?
The Eddie Murphy classic, in which I was going to say it's kind of an immigration love story, but it's more of a tourist love story because he comes to America with no intention of staying here, with the intention of returning back to Zamunda with his wife. So it's kind of a tourist love story. He comes here to find his bride. The scenes in that film around love and weddings and the celebrations with the costumes and the choreography and the garb and the very dramatic decor. I mean, what a great thing to like theme an entire chapel or wedding around. Like you could have the animals surrounding you. You could have your own money printed out with your face on it, just like, just like Prince Akeem did. Like, I don't know. I think it would be a fun themed wedding to celebrate, and kind of ties into Vegas a little bit.
All right. I love it.
Well, as a jaded Las Vegas local, mine would be themed around the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I didn't love, but I would like the idea of like microdosing the wedding party and having chapel employees wander around in giant lizard costumes and have, instead of wedding photos, you have Ralph Steadman draw the wedding party. To me, that sounds like an authentic movie-based Las Vegas celebration.
Brilliant. Well, my movie is Mars Attacks. It's my favorite Vegas film of all time. It's also because we just did an episode on implosions because we had the East Side Cannery implosion this week, and I just got Mars Attacks in the brain. And I think you got to play as the theme music that song at the end that makes all the alien heads explode. Pew, pew, pew. You got to have lasers. You got to have somebody with a giant, what is it? The giant blonde bouffant wig on. You just got to go full on Mars Attacks. And
you got to have Danny DeVito. He's got to be there. He has to officiate every single one.
Or Danny DeVito impersonator. I feel like that would also be fine. But yes, you're right.
I would actually be interested in seeing a Danny DeVito impersonator. That would be fun, actually.
They're out. They've got to be out there.
That would be tough.
You'd have to be very short.
Unique body build, for sure. Much more unique than like Elvis, per se. Like you've got the casting for that. The casting department would have a tough time with that one.
Yeah. Well, if you find him, Kip, hire him right away. Start a business. Do a Danny DeVito impersonator business.
I'm no longer on the hunt for unpermitted structures. I'm now looking for Danny DeVito impersonators.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go, I want to do some member shout outs because we have an amazing membership program, CityCast Las Vegas Neighbors. If you become a neighbor, you get all kinds of amazing perks, invites to exclusive events, an exclusive events email, a members only ad-free podcast feed, and the chance to shout out your favorite local businesses and orgs. So Sue M says, shout out to Friends of LVA, a group that raises funds for programming at the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts. Love to see it. Nancy H says, Nails with Emily V. For professional, friendly, clean manicure, pedicure, always on time, no waiting, high quality polish, variety of colors. She can do nail art and gel. Highly recommend Nails with Emily V. Thank you, Nancy H. And while we're here, I'm going to shout out Kip Kelly's Beverly Theater, the premier location for art, film, and culture downtown.
And book events. There's been some really great book events there as well. I love that second floor patio.
Thanks for the shout out. Yes, Scott, like some cool book events up at Segway. That's what we call a little terrace up there. So, thebeverlytheater.com, shameless plug. Come see us and watch some movies. Thank you guys.
Hear, hear. All right. Well, Scott, Kip, thank you so much for joining us today on this Friday News Roundup.
Thanks for risking your credibility to have me.
Yeah, I feel sorry for your listeners. Thanks for having me.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Our executive producer is Layla Mohammed. Our producer is Zoe Culkin. Our newsletter editor is Rob Katzel-Reese. And I'm Sonia Cho Swanson, wannabe Danny DeVito impersonator. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and All the Kimonos. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nuuvi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed the show, go tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. Don't forget, you can support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Take care.